basically today I wanted to go over how we did the vertical shiplap wall in our guest bathroom. I guess it's our second floor bathroom. It is completed other than one or two kind of little hardware tweaks, but I wanted to take you through how we did that. So here is some footage of what Ben did to make sure that everything was plumb and lined. So we decided how high we wanted to go. We decided about doing like 2/3 up the wall. So we're measuring to make sure that they're all even, but that way you have a nice guide and you don't have to keep measuring. We also mapped out where the vanity was gonna go, which was really helpful because then we didn't have to bring the boards all the way down to the floor for that space, and we could kind of plan with the baseboards. Here is just some footage of what Ben did to plaster where the Schluter met the wall, because when they did the demo, they didn't do a great job of demoing it and being careful, so we had to sort of replaster that area as well too, so it is nice and smooth. Here we are just doing, and by we I mean Ben, is measuring out where the studs are so that we have some idea if we are nailing into a certain area, we can kind of stay with that. So here is a few of the boards completed. You can see that where the vanity is going to go, we didn't obviously go all the way down to the floor, and we just mapped out where the baseboards were going to go so that we could actually get the specific distance that we needed. So we did that all throughout. Ben did a lot of the detail work of obviously cutting around all of the light fixtures, all of the molding on the window, which is definitely challenging. I wouldn't say it's easy. I'll link a few videos below where they highlight more on how to do that. I didn't get a lot of footage of that just because it was such like fine detail work that Ben was doing. But here I'm just, after I've sanded an initial sand of all of the MDF, I'm just going over it with a shop vac and then a tack cloth just to make sure it's nice and smooth. What we noticed with the MDF was that when you did use the nail gun, little elevations in the MDF kind of came out. So we had to really sand them down quite a lot. It's obviously not as heavy as wood, but so it's an easier material to work with that way. But in terms of the actual paint prep and making sure that everything was really smooth was more challenging, I would say, than the ones that we did that were wood upstairs. So here I'm just sanding again, trying to make sure that everything is as smooth as possible before I wood fill. So here I'm just using a wood filler, and again, I'll link a video that I found that helped me just perfect my form a little bit more. But the more that you do with this, it really is easy. I would say just leave enough so that you obviously cover the hole and you have a little bit to sand off, but don't cake it on too much. And that's the way to get a really nice finished look, and then you don't have to spend hours sanding. I've made that mistake before where I've put way too much wood fill on, and then you just have to do a lot more sanding. So make life easier for yourself and just, don't cake it on too much. So now we're on to paint. So for painting, what I found with the shiplap that was the best was to use a brush in between the actual boards of the color. Because we're doing a reverse shiplap, we painted white up top, which we actually did before doing the gray and putting that cap piece on, which I would recommend as well too, just because then you don't have to be as perfect with it. And then here I'm actually brushing in between the boards, but then immediately you'll see me come back with a roller and do the roller on those boards. If you were to do all of the slats kind of in between and then go back and roll, you would definitely see brush marks. So what I was trying to do is, while the paint was wet, then go back with the roller just so that you actually have a nice finished line and you can't see the brush strokes and then the roller strokes, it's really just a nice seamless look. So I would recommend doing that if you are doing more of a shiplap, as opposed to, like I said, doing all of the rolling first and then cutting in, or all of the cutting in and then rolling. Try and kind of do it while the paint's still wet so you don't get those marks. And use enough paint. I think that was my mistake as well. I figured as I started to go, I started to pick up a little bit more paint, and it was definitely easier to get a nice finished look with that. The other thing to note with painting is that for the cap piece and then the baseboards, we painted the first coat of those before we even installed them onto the wall. That was my husband's idea. The reason for that is that you're less likely to then need to paint really close to where the trim meets the flooring. For us, we had obviously just had the flooring done, so we didn't want any paint drips or anything like that. So I would highly recommend doing that as well too, mainly for the baseboards. And again, if you're doing that top cap piece, then all you have to do is wood fill those, and then you can do another coat, but you don't have to be super careful about cutting in. So here's the finished product. I just wanted to do a few close-ups of where you could see the detail. Ben did caulk around the window and then into some of the corners and things like that. So he did obviously a really good job with that. And we love it. We're so happy it's done. Again, a couple finishing pieces left, but it just looks really nice. And as you saw from my thumbnail, the inspiration pic, I feel like it really came to life within this bathroom. So I am obsessed with it.